All right, Lynn, can you please tell me a little bit about yourself and your current company?
Sure. Um, I've been in the carrier industry for my entire tenure. So obviously, I'm very passionate about the industry, and that's where all of my passion lies. When I first met Banyan Technology a couple years ago, I got an opportunity to see what they offered to the shipping industry. And when I saw the visibility, the trackability, the automation, and the cost savings, I thought to myself at that time, that's really where the industry is going, and I need to be a part of that team.
That's so cool. Um,
It was, and it is.
yeah. So, what attributes do you think a successful leader in the supply chain has?
So, supply chain leaders live in a constant changing industry. They must be innovative, flexible, and proactive. To live in this environment, really, you have to show up every day, you have to take action, you have to know when to speak, and obviously know when to listen. It's also key to be connected and know the industry. You have to take awareness and know the changes and their nuances and the happenings. So you really never want to be caught behind the curve. So that you go back to the old networking, it's so important, it's critical.
Right. And then a big part of that is mentoring and education. And why do you think that is becoming more important?
I've had the opportunity to mentor several people. And without having those opportunities from being the mentored person, you really don't get to see the differences in how important what someone is saying or doing is in that role.
Yeah. Has reverse mentoring had an impact on you? Do any of your mentees teach you anything?
All the time,
Right.
all the time. Next, sometimes when I'm working with someone, and obviously they're from a generation that is much younger than mine, I many times wish that that's where I was today. I think the opportunities in the industry are just enormous. And I think the younger folks that are coming into to the transportation world, logistics world, is going to make an even bigger impact than what we could ever imagine that we did in our past.
That's very cool. But you're kind of like a double whammy in a sense that you're a woman that is working in the supply chain and in the transportation and logistics industry. And those are two like big industries that are typically dominated by men. So what is it like to be a woman representing these sectors?
So that's a great question because obviously when I started my tenure, I never thought about the female, the male aspect. And probably as I've crawled up the ladder and moved around in the industry, I've still never really looked at myself as the female, the male. I've just always looked at the opportunities. I've had some amazing mentors that were men and some amazing mentors that were women. And I can't say that I learned more from one than the other because I learned everything that I was looking for, and in most cases, more than what I was looking for.
Nice. So, what are some ways that we can recruit and retain more women into the industries? And it can be the transportation and logistics or the supply chain.
Yeah, so that's awesome because I've never looked at how do we recruit. I've always put my attention on how do we retain.
Mm.
I think that women enter into the supply chain world, transportation world, um, and find that as you know their personal life is changing, that sometimes the flexibility is not there. So
Right.
I would look for how do we bring people into the industry and retain them. I do think that I think that COVID has brought a whole new vision to
Right.
the work from home, which has allowed both men and women to enable the work-life balance. And I think that's been, as bad as it is, I think it's been a great opportunity that we've been able to experience.
Mhm. I really agree with that because, like, we've just come to accept the new normal now. And if there's a kid sticking his hand in the background, that like it happens.
And many times we welcome it because we really get to see a different side of the person we're working with.
Right? I can't tell you how many, like, my boyfriend is a teacher, and I can not begin to tell you how many of his conferences that I just like walked in the background,
Yeah.
and it happens. It's
It happens, and many times, well before you know it's happening.
right, and it's always when I'm doing something embarrassing too, like singing.
Yeah.
But then, but then, have you faced any challenges within the industry, and if so, how did you overcome them?
Yeah, so I wish that I could say no to that, to challenges, but everybody on here would realize that I was quickly telling a fib. Of course, everyone has challenges. They have challenges in their work life. They also have challenges in their personal life. Coming from the carrier side, there were never 2 days the same. Even though we came in every day with the same expectation, you pick up freight, deliver freight, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing else was the same. I've been through deregulation, capacity crunches, immediately followed by excess capacity. I've been through driver shortages, fuel shortages, price reductions, price increases. I think the key to understanding any challenge is to sit back and look at where the opportunity lies. And sometimes it's best to understand when the win is really worth the fight.
Yeah. I can see that. And especially with COVID going on now, I'm sure that has been a huge challenge for the transportation and logistics sector.
Huge. But it's not anything that we won't overcome. We all
Right.
have challenges. We just need to work through this and find the right path.
Mhm. What is some way that the pandemic is affecting Banyan?
So we're very fortunate. Our business has been growing
Mhm.
during the pandemic. We've got some customers, obviously, that have been furloughed or closed, but the majority of our client base is realizing that this will not last forever, and they're really planning today for tomorrow.
Right.
So our business is up. We've got new business that's onboarding. We've really not, fortunately, been that all impacted by it from a negative perspective.
Well, that is fortunate because, like, I feel like the transportation sector it's had a really rough last couple years, especially with the driver shortage. But people still need their goods. They still are getting stuff delivered. I cannot stop online shopping, so I am contributing to it. And I think I think the pandemic has really shined a light on how important drivers and the transportation is.
Agree. I think people really finally realize today that the industry really does move the world.
Mhm. I was talking to someone on our Link Educate podcast that we have, and she said, your work in the supply chain matters because it's one of the only industries that impacts every single person on the globe.
That's right. Exactly.
Mhm.
And it's interesting because people don't wake up or people never talk about, oh, I think I'm going to go into the supply chain as
Right.
a career path. But the entire group of people that I've been, associated with all my career tenure, we've all entered not realizing what we were entering into and realized that there's no getting out. So once you're in,
Yeah.
it's a great place to be. And all the years I've been in the industry, literally, I look back and it's been a blink of an eye.
It really is. I talk to people all the time in the supply chain who say that they didn't go out seeking it, it found them. And I think that is very, very common for people too. And especially with colleges now having more supply chain majors, that's gonna even gain more people into the industry. So I'm excited to see where it's gonna go in like the next 3 to 4 years. It's gonna be a whole new talent, a whole new group of talent coming in.
Yeah, I agree. And I really, really would love to see the universities promote supply chain heavier than what they do today.
Mhm. I think because of the pandemic, it's going to become a bigger deal. It's going to become a bigger major. But then, Lynn, what advice do you have for those that are first starting out in the industry?
Great question. I think the same advice would be with any industry that they enter. Uh, enter with eyes wide open
Mhm.
and enter to understand. Uh, Many times you do have to go through the processes for the promotability, work those processes. The industry has so much to offer and it's always evolving. So find your niche inside the industry and then become the master of it.
I think that's good advice. Is that the same advice that you would give yourself, your younger self?
That is the advice I took.
I think it's solid advice. But I just have one last question for you today. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day. I know that you're a very busy lady traveling and doing all that good stuff, but how does it feel to be named as one of the SCCE's top women in supply chain?
I have to tell you, I'm extremely honored to be part of this group of prestigious women who have been chosen as the top women in supply. Knowing that I've solved tough questions, challenges, mentored others to their next level in the industry, landed numerous client accounts, and really made an impact in the industry and people's lives. That's really what has kept me going.
I'm really glad, Lynn. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Do you have anything else that you would like to add?
I just appreciate the time that you took.
All right. Thank you.
Nice meeting you.
Nice
You have a
meeting you.
wonderful day.